Shadow Generations is only about a month or so out, and I'll be honest, this is the first time since, hell, Sonic Mania, perhaps even Generations, where I've seen nothing but excitement from the Sonic community. I mean, it has been great to be in the Sonic community, you know, I guess more or less, over the last month or so, and that's great. I mean, wow, it's a Sonic game that people are excited for. I mean, that's amazing news. I mean, Superstars is great. I love Superstars, but there is, you know, the classic naysayers and stuff like that. And I think it's kind of obvious that 3D Sonic is what excites people the most nowadays. The 2D crowd has more or less left. Shadow Generations looks incredible, but of course, like with any Sonic project, there's kind of a worry, kind of like a deep-rooted worry that it might end up being bad. But from what we've seen of Shadow Generations, holy cow, it looks awesome, man. I cannot wait. But I do have a wish list, stuff that I think Shadow Generations needs in order to be a hit for me, in order to be a classic, in order to be one of the greats, one of the top 5 best Sonic games of all time. Something that we haven't really cracked in a long time, I would say. Mania, you could argue, but other than that, I mean, we need a hit here, and I have some things to go over. And originally, a lot of us were thinking, oh, this is gonna be like a 3 or 4 level side game that's kind of like just a little treat for people who are wanting something new. But no, it's looking like they are using Sonic Generations as an excuse to release this game. It really seems like this is its own full original game, which, think about that. We're getting a Shadow game in 2024, almost 20 years since the original Shadow the Hedgehog. This is a momentous occasion, and here's the wish list. We need to get these down right in order for this game to be a smash hit. In the first one, I want to cover the levels real quick. We need good level design, and I feel like the level design has to mirror Sonic Generations. And now, when I say that, I know a lot of people are going to think like, oh, we don't have to limit ourselves to just Sonic Generations level design, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it should just be mirrored completely one-to-one with Sonic Generations. I'm not saying that at all. If it can be better, absolutely, give it to us. But what I'm saying is, I feel like it has to mirror Sonic Generations at least a little bit. It has to resemble it. Because let's not forget, this game is literally called Shadow Generations, and I feel like if it's more of like cyberspace and forces, which we know it's not, but you never know until we get it in our hands. As from what we're looking at, definitely not like forces, absolutely not. But, you know, I just don't want to see that forces design philosophy in Shadow Generations. I want it to mirror the quality of Sonic Generations, and that goes into more bugs and stuff too, because of course the game has bugs. It's a video game. Video games have bugs. We've seen a little bit of Shadow Generations. I think one time someone kind of fell off a ramp, but luckily they weren't able to recreate that glitch, so that's good. I just need it to mirror the quality of Sonic Generations, and I feel like from what we've seen, I mean, it looks really, really fucking good, but that is a core element. It has to have that, in my opinion. And that leads into my next point, is I feel like the spectacle has to tie in with the level design, rather than it just being for show. And what I mean by that is, as much as Sonic Forces is fun for a lot of people, and you know, I enjoy Sonic Forces myself, we can't lie to ourselves, and that game is largely like 70% spectacle. A lot of people say that game is fun to speedrun, and it's only fun to speedrun because you can air boost through like 90% of the level. Alright, I'm not an idiot. I know spectacle exists in every single Sonic game ever made, and if people tell you that it doesn't, they're lying or have not played enough Sonic games, because Sonic 1, Green Hill Zone Act 1, spectacle is right there. But what's the difference is between spectacle in Green Hill versus spectacle in Sunset Heights is the fact that Green Hill, that spectacle is created through your speed. The spectacle in Sonic Adventure is you running up to a loop and the dash pad kind of sends you flying out of it, versus like Sonic Forces where you're hardly touching the controller and then you just fly into this rail and you're just spinning everywhere, and it's, you know, and that's cool. That has its place. That absolutely has its place, but I don't want that to take precedence over the level design, because I don't know, we don't need that anymore. That's kind of old news, you know, and thankfully it kind of looks like we're getting that. Like, for instance, there's this one part in Kingdom Valley where you use the speed you gain as you go down a hill to fly up out the ramp. That's good. That's what I like to see. That's spectacle done right. And speaking on the forces comparison, this leads me into my next point, and I feel like we have to have good control. I'm talking about good turning, good feeling jumping, and good feeling platforming, unlike Forces and Cyberspace. Now, Cyberspace, I think, in Forces level design, the fact that the turning is god-awful in those games, it is unbelievable. Like Generations and Unleashed, they were designed, in more so colors, too, they were designed around the fact that the turning wasn't that great and you had the drift. That was there. But the thing is, the drifting was not in Forces or Frontiers, so it really fell off. Like the Metropolis level, where when you turn that one corner, you have to be specific on when you turn left, as if you can't just hold left the entire time, and I think that's terrible control. That is awful control. That is something I never want to see in Sonic ever again. I mean, holy crap, that was bad. And thankfully, I've been seeing a lot of people who've played Shadow Generations say that the control is great, the turning is great. And I think it's more jarring because when you play Sonic Frontiers and you're in the overworld and you have the great Sonic control, I think Sonic on the ground control's amazing at Frontiers. You go from that to Cyberspace where you can hardly veer left to right. I think there's a problem there, and I'm really happy that it's looking like Shadow Generations is fixing this issue, because again, if you don't have a drift, you have to have good turning. It's required in order to have fun. And this kind of leads into what I want to talk about next, and it's the Doom powers. Shadow Generations is introducing the Doom powers, where Shadow gets new techniques, I guess, from his Doom DNA, and that's really cool. I mean, honestly, seeing him turn to like a morph and growing wings is very awesome, but it is a bit concerning to me. Now, from the footage we've seen, it looks pretty fun. I mean, like flying through the air, surfing in the water, that's all fine and good, but I feel like it has to be seamless, not forced in or shoehorned in. Like, for example, the Wisp in Sonic Colors, where they strip Sonic's moveset away. You take away the Lightspeed Dash, you take away the Spin Dash, you take away a lot of Sonic's moves, and you kind of put them into power-ups as the illusion of something new. Like Sonic Superstars, where you take away the Fire, Electric, and Water Shield to introduce Emerald powers, which are lame compared to those shields. I want the Doom powers to feel like they are added to Shadow's moveset, not just like, oh, look at this new gimmick. No, I want it to feel right. I want it to feel good. I don't want it just to be a gimmick, and I feel like that's very, very important for the feel. But honestly, other than that, I think like the Doom powers look great. I mean, the Metal Overlord fight on like the Surfer one, it looks awesome. I mean, I can't wait to try around with it. The wings, of course, are badass. Shadow with these cool like Doom wings. It looks amazing. I just want it to feel seamless. I don't want it to get to a part in the level where it's a slow transition. I want it to feel fast, snappy. I want to just go in and out of the Doom powers. You know, with the levels kind of out of the way, I want to get into some levels I hope to see, because apparently there's even more levels that we're getting even after the reveal of like Chaos Island and Sunset Heights and all those new levels that we saw. I feel like there's actually has to be at least 2 or 3 more, and I have 2, maybe 3 hopes that I want to see. First off, White Jungle from Sonic Adventure 2, my personal favorite stage in that game. Actually, one of my favorite stages in that game. You know, there's a lot of great ones in Sonic Adventure 2. White Jungle, I mean, come on, man. You know, come on, it's a very good level. I want to see it in Shadow Generations. It would be awesome. And I think like any level from Shadow the Hedgehog. I know we have a kind of mix between Westopolis and Radical Highway already, but the thing is I feel like we need a Shadow level, because a lot of people might be a bit upset that we won't see that. So, and I guess I will be too, because this is supposed to be a celebration of Shadow. We have to see at least one Shadow the Hedgehog level in there. Now, what is that? Take your pick. Honestly, I don't really mind either or. Maybe that kind of like in the computer, that, you know, that cyber level, that would be pretty cool. Not really picky either way. And for my last one, this is probably not going to happen. This is kind of a out there wish, but I want to see an entirely new themed level around Shadow. And I know that's like kind of defeats the whole purpose of Shadow Generations, because they're pulling from the future and the past. But like here, let's get a little creative real quick. The time meter can pull from the future timelines, right? Well, what if, you know, what if they pull something from the far distant future, like 100 years or so, and they give us like this high-tech level or something, I don't know. Or maybe they can go like hundreds of years in the past, give us this old-timey level. I just want something new. Alright, since we got all that out of the way, now let's head into the bosses, because we're getting a few new bosses in this game, and I feel like since we're getting a lot of new levels, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're getting more than the original Generations. I think the boss structure is going to be identical to Generations. Like, we'll have 3 rival battles and 3 boss battles, and of course, the first rival battle is going to be Sonic. It's going to, like, kind of cross with Sonic Generations, so we're going to see Sonic. That's a lock. And then the first boss is going to be the Bio-Lizard, obviously. We all know that. And for my second boss, this is a no-brainer. I picked Mephiles. Now, of course, a lot of people have been like, oh, well, Sonic 06, oh, Sonic 06. Okay, let's get this out of the way. The Time Eater can pull from deleted timelines. This has been stated, I think, multiple times. So, Mephiles would be really cool. Maybe we can have, like, a scene where Shadow goes, who are you? And Mephiles goes, oh, I know you all too well, or something like that. That'd be sick. Mephiles goes on this huge monologue or something while Shadow, like, beats the fuck out of him. That would be really cool. I would love to see Mephiles come back. I think everyone does. For my next rival battle, a lot of people might be upset with this. I want to see Infinite as a rival battle. I know people want a boss battle Infinite. I think a rival battle would be way more fitting. Maybe we get some dialogue between the two. That would be sick. I just think Infinite would be a great choice. And for my next rival battle, I feel like this is all but confirmed. I think Emerald is going to be a rival battle. I think that would be sick. We're seeing him in the prologue, so I think they're teasing at least something with Emerald in the story and in the boss. I really hope it's a rival battle, because I think that would fit more than it being a boss battle. So we'll see. Maybe they're not even going for the generation structure, but I feel like if we are going through that and we will fight Sonic somewhere throughout this adventure, I feel like it's only natural that we have 2 others, because that's what the original Generations had. If it's called Shadow Generations, then I think it makes sense personally. But for the other bosses, we have, of course, Metal Overlord, which looks sick. But for the final battle, I really feel like maybe a new form of Black Doom. And so this might be controversial, but I want the grand return of Super Shadow, because we have not seen Super Shadow in almost 20 years, like actually in a video game, like a Sonic Team video game. And if you're asking why, you can thank Redditors and people that look like this for that, but, get that out of the way. We're not going to dwell on the past. We need to see Super Shadow again, and it could be meaningful. I know a lot of people like their super forms being meaningful, and I think this could be meaningful, because we just haven't seen him in so long, man. And of course, a lot of people are like, well, what about the Chaos Emerald and stuff like that? Here's the thing. Again, the Time Eater is pulling from different timelines. It is fair to assume we will have multiple sets of Chaos Emeralds. Like, what I'm saying is Sonic and their Void has a set, and Shadow has his own set and stuff like that. So I feel like it's only fair. I feel like it's only fair for Shadow if we get Super Shadow again. And, maybe it could be a Frontier-style boss fight. That would be sick. Imagine flying through space, or this, Time Void where Black Doom is going through the times and he's throwing all the levels together, and Shadow's dodging huge objects as Super Shadow, and you have to parry them or something. That would be amazing. I want to see Super Shadow again. I think it's justified for Shadow's character if we see him going super. That would be cool. Maybe a new form, but honestly, we have to have Super Shadow. Super Shadow has to be in this game, man. I really want it. I really want Super Shadow. And now, for my last set of hopes, I'm going to be looking at the open zone, because this is going to be the grand return of the open zone format from Sonic Frontiers, and they're doing this instead of having a 2D hub world, we're getting an open zone, and I think that's amazing how they're going to develop this style further. Very excited to see that. And as for the size of this open zone, a lot of people are theorizing Kronos or Ares Island. I'm thinking more Kronos, and I'm fine with that. Kronos is a very big open zone, and I'm completely fine with that. And Izuka said that this wasn't going to be as content-packed as the original Generations, and I think if Kronos is in it, I think that's already more content-packed. So, my vote is Kronos. What would you guys think? Comment that down below. Now, I guess this applies to the levels too, but I want there to be good combat. Now, this is coming from a person who personally loves the combat in Sonic Frontiers. I think it's really fun. I know a lot of people go, oh, it's the flashing lights, duh. But for me, I don't know, I like the combos. I think it's really fun, but it does have a lot of objective problems. The stomp is way too overpowered. It's actually ridiculous. In Final Horizons, the characters are too overpowered. I don't even know what they were thinking. It's just genuine, stupid-ass game design at that point. And the parry is just ridiculous. So I think with that stated, I we need good combat, and I think it needs to be refined, because I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with Frontiers combat on a kind of a paper level, but just it needs to be balanced. It needs to have, like, no overpowered options. Let's, of course have a strong move, obviously, but let's not have something like the Stomp, because a lot of people, they just stomp the entire time in Sonic Frontiers. Thankfully for me, I don't find that very fun, so I don't do that. I like watching Sonic do all the cool moves. I do think we need a more in-depth combat system, because it's just ridiculous. Like, the pairing, it has to be better. Even though the casuals really seem to love the combat in Frontiers, I think from a game design perspective, this has to be better. I'm not saying it has to be, like, as in-depth as something like Devil May Cry, for example, but at least something that's, like, not broken. I think it's fair to want something that's not broken. And the next one, it's looking like we're getting some of this already, and I know kind of Generations has the whole time meter excuse, but I really want the open zone to have cohesion. And, this is another huge complaint with Frontiers, is the cohesion is non-existent. And of course, there's a lot of reasons as to why cohesion is not a thing in Frontiers. It's the quote-unquote art style direction. The whole point, Sonic is supposed to be in a world where he's never been to before. The ancients kind of put all that stuff there. It's supposed to be an illusion. It's not actually there within the canon. Personally speaking, and this may upset some people, so I'm sorry, I just think that's a lazy excuse to not have proper cohesion. In the previous Sonic games, like Sonic Adventure 2, like, you're running through the forest, you're grinding on, like, vines, and then you go through these cool things, you're swinging on other vines, and, it's just all wrapped around the level. The cohesion is beautiful in most Sonic games, so in Frontiers, it was very off-putting to not have the cohesion there. I really want that to be the case in Shadow Generations. Like, have the rails connect to something, And I know, of course, there's the example of, like, oh, Rail Canyon in Sonic Heroes, like, the rails are floating in midair. Yeah, that's fine, but don't make it look ugly like it was in Frontiers. I mean, I get it, like, the whole like ancients thing, I do get it really, but I think there's a way to make it less ugly, and the platforms can look a lot less ugly too. I just want it to have at least some level of cohesion, I think, because that's what Sonic Team excelled at. Like, you look at Mario, and there's coins floating in midair, and there's platforms floating in midair. Meanwhile, in Sonic, it always felt like they tried their hardest to make everything feel and flow naturally, and that was lost in Frontiers, and I don't know, I just think that's something Sonic Team's been doing since the early days, and it's something they could definitely do again. I mean, these are the same people that brought us, like, amazing games like Adventure 2 and Sonic 3, so it's like, they have to give us good cohesion. It just has to be a thing. It makes it feel good. Next up on the list is I want good challenges, good fun challenges, and, again, I'm actually one of those few people that like the challenges in Sonic Frontiers. I think most of them were very fun, and I do say most of them in very big asterisks because, some of them were pretty bad. And I want the challenges to feel more Sonic-esque, like the ones in Frontiers when you ran to the other side of the island, or you had to, like, grind up some rails. I feel like those are good. Something more stuff like that, more stuff that takes advantage of their movesets, not so much the puzzly stuff, like moving blocks or whatever, kind of making blocks fit. That's more Zelda stuff. I want to see like puzzles that kind of are more Sonic-like, and I think that would be better, and I think that would kind of go down in more fans' heads as something they could accept. And here is my biggest thing I want to see in the open zone, and that is no 2D segments. Now, I feel like the entire purpose of open zone is to be this big 3D space. It is called an open zone. But with that said, I don't want to be running, like, kind of, or in Shadow's case, skating. You're skating to this huge world, and suddenly you're just, like, whiplash, boom, 2D, and you have to, like, get out of it and kind of clank the sticks to get out of it. I don't want to see that, because I think that was one of the worst parts for me for playing Frontiers, is being in that zen mode of running around this great open world and suddenly just being stopped at a halt because you turned to 2D. I think that's awful, and I don't want to see that coming again, and I understand they're kind of trying to move away from the whole boost thing, but I really feel like that will really hinder the gameplay, and will be like a total whiplash to anyone that's enjoying, like, an open space. So with that said, no 2D segments at all. I feel like that's a big one for me. Like, it's gonna be a pretty big strike against the game if it has 2D segments within the open zone. And a last little thing, I want platforms to be created within the terrain. Again, this kind of goes back to cohesion, because in Sonic Frontiers, there was actually little to no platforming originally. The platforming was added in last minute, which for a Sonic game is absurd because it's a platformer, right? But I feel like this was made with the criticisms of Frontiers in mind, because Frontiers was a massive success. But but it did have some critics, of course. So platforming that's built within the terrain, you know, give that cohesion, get that good platforming, no 2D segments, have good combat, make the combat feel good, no, you know, no overpowered parrying, no stomp, anything ridiculously overpowered like that. If you give this all of that, I genuinely feel like this could be one of the greatest Sonic or Shadow games ever created. Like, everything we've been seeing, I've been a pretty big fan of. Like, Kingdom Valley looks amazing. All the stuff, I'm even excited for, you know, like Chaos Island. I know a lot of people aren't really thrilled with that, but here's the thing, give us everything. Include a Superstars level, go for it. Mania levels, give it to us. I want to see as much as they can possibly do, and I'm down for anything. You want to give it to me? I'm fine. Give it all. Let's do this. Let's go ballistic. Let's go balls to the wall. I want to see this game do well. I want to see this game do great. I want the game to be amazing. I want the game to be the best it can be. I'm coming into this game with a great mindset. You know, Frontiers, I was scared as hell until the final trailer, which I actually felt some excitement for. But this, again, this is the first Sonic game since Mania, probably before that Generations, where I see most people excited for, and that's crazy. That is wonderful to see, and I feel like that's a very big reason why this game can't mess up. You cannot fuck this one up. If you fuck this one up, I genuinely feel like it's going to be a bad time in the Sonic community. A lot of people are never going to trust Sonic Team ever again. And I was going to include stuff like animations in this video, but the animations so far in the game look amazing. I didn't need to include that. The trailer speaks for itself. There's one thing, you know that one part of the trailer where it kind of looks like it's stretched out? That needs to be changed. That's embarrassing. No, Sonic Team. You do not do that. Other than that, though, I want to hear what you guys think. What do you guys think of Shattered Generations? I want to see some big-ass comments in the comment section. I want to know what you guys think. I want to know guys what you want from the game, and this was a kind of more different, kind of off-script video, but I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if it does well, I'll do more of these kind of videos. Of course, I'm reviewing the game when it comes out. I have the Digital Deluxe pre-ordered, so I can play it a couple days before, and I'll be working my ass off to get that review out to you guys. But until then, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit that like, subscribe. I hate saying that, but metagame, you gotta do it. But with that said, NNC here signing out. See you guys in the next one.